Baie dankie dat jy ingeskakel is op die groot ontbyt, soos ons vir jou vroeër gesê het, die wêreld van motorsport gaan 'n revolusionêre transformasie ondergaan met die onlangse bekendstelling van die elektriese hipermotor Elite World Cup. Dit is nou vir jou 'n ding. Saam met ons in die ateljee een van die mede-stigters, Stephen Watson, om ons meer hieroor te vertel. Onthou, Suid-Afrika en China het hande gevat om hierdie nuwe been in motorsport 'n werklikheid te maak. Stephen, good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
I'd like to start, as I said, you're one of the co-founders of the Elite World Cup for hypercars. Tell us about your co-founders and what brought about the conversation about this World Cup.
So my fellow co-founders, Mr. Liu Yu from China and Tokyo Sehwali from South Africa, we've been talking about doing this for some time. We were all involved in the previous A1 Grand Prix World Cup of Motorsport, which was, of course, single-seaters with big V8 engines. And we really thought that that championship had a lot of merit. Unfortunately, it didn't survive. I think management made some poor decisions, and ultimately they crippled the series with taking on too much of a financial burden. And we were able to look back at that and see, look, this is what worked, and most importantly, this is what didn't work. And we've been thinking about doing this for some time. Of course, the world's moved on substantially now, and we feel it's time for an electric hypercar World Cup, where we attract the best drivers from around the world to compete in equal equipment so we can really see who is the best.
Now, Stephen, you're going to have to take us a step back and just help us to understand what exactly is a hypercar.
Great question. So, I mean, I think everybody knows what a supercar is, you know, those Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bugattis, big V8, V10 engines in it. And then there was the era of a hybrid car, which still many of those around, where it's both a petrol engine married to an electric engine, and you can switch from different power sources. A hypercar is an all-electric, effectively a racing car for the road. Unbelievable performance. The Lotus Evija, the hypercar that we're basing our championship on and looking to do a racing version of that specific car, 0 to 300 kilometers an hour, 9.1 seconds. And 0 to 100 in less than 3 seconds, 350 kilometers an hour top speed. It generates about 1.6 tons, so more downforce than it weighs at velocity. I mean, staggering performance. Performance that you would typically see from a Formula One car. This particular car is full road, and now we're looking at doing a racing derivative of that. Most importantly, that means it's unbelievable to drive for established drivers. They want to drive the best machines. They want to have fun on the racetrack. But every single team will have exactly the same specification racing car. So racing will be absolutely phenomenal. Each team represents a country. And so we go nation to nation, attracting some of the best drivers in the world to come and compete for their countries.
You spoke about the Lotus Evija right now. It's being exhibited in Sandton at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about that car, that specific one in Sandton, and what makes it so special.
Thank you. So Lotus actually sent out a limited edition Emerson Fittipaldi Evija. It is a car they built to commemorate Emerson Fittipaldi's 1972 Formula One World Championship. We brought it out to South Africa for the week of the BRIC Summit to showcase and announce our series on Nelson Mandela Square, on the foot of the Nelson Mandela Station. So it's one of 8 cars in the world. It is sadly now back on a 747 out of the country. So I think South Africans had a very rare chance to glimpse a car that sells in the United Kingdom ex-Lotus for £2.3 million.
That is incredible, but the great thing is we will be able to see these Lotus Evija cars at the World Cup as well, of course. You spoke about the BRIC Summit now, and I would like to ask you, Stephen, the significance of this collaboration between South Africa and China, and the fact that it is China and South Africa that's birthing this World Cup instead of the West.
We launched this on the eve of the BRICS summit, I think really to make a statement that we're really proud that a group of Chinese and South African entrepreneurs could come together and to give birth to an international motor racing series, the World Cup of Motorsport, give birth to it from developing countries. Normally these international championships are born out of the United States or Europe, and we may or may not get to participate, and we have to apply to host races, etc. But this is a South Africa and Chinese joint venture. South Africa is still some way off transitioning to electric cars, but China has very much adopted them. There's thousands and thousands of electric cars. The millennials have adopted them. And so we really want to use this championship to make the electric hypercar make a statement, help transformation in the automotive industry. It was a very proud moment for us to do this on the eve of BRICS. Of course, BRICS had a lot of attention. There were a lot of international media out from all centers of the globe. So it was the perfect platform for us to announce.
Now, Stephen, sustainability is one of the key aspects of the Elite World Cup. Can you elaborate on how you plan to achieve this?
Yeah, look, I think that, and particularly South Africa, we love the sound of a big combustion engine. People who go and buy Ferraris or even a big Mustang, and you push that start button and that V8 growls into life. These are completely silent machines when they're sitting static. So, a lot of people go, electric car, do I really want an electric car? Is that cool? And by showing off the Lotus Avaya and by creating this championship, which will represent countries from around the world, we hope to be part of that message to say, listen, electric is cool. It might be a different sound. There definitely is a sound. The performance is staggering. But most importantly, the benefits to our environment are important. I've got children. I want a better world for my children. And at some point, we've got to start to transition to more efficient power that leaves our world and our environment in a better space. And if you look at traditional motorsports, fans tend to gravitate towards the driver. The driver is always the hero, not necessarily the car. And so there's this strong patriotic appeal for the driver. So if we can use the best drivers in the world to come and compete in these amazing cars, and they're talking about these machines, I think that has the power to contribute towards change.
Now, we're excited to hear who Team South Africa will be. When and how will Team South Africa be chosen?
Well, the most important thing, because South Africa is one of the founding countries, there will be a Team South Africa. And very importantly, of course, in the 8 events that we do around the world, South Africa will host an event. So as you rightly said earlier, we'll get to see these cars in action. Team South Africa, its drivers and its launch will follow. And you'll see from now a series of announcements of which countries are participating, which drivers are participating, exactly where we will be racing. We've already made the statement that we will race during the European motor racing off-season. So most championships start in February and end in November. We'll start in September, race through the festive period and end in March, April. And of course, we'll be coming to South Africa. So you'll have to stay tuned to find out more information around who is Team South Africa and, most importantly, who will be driving for Team South Africa.
We cannot wait. Lastly, from our side, just give us a glimpse into the exhilarating race weekends that participants and viewers can expect, and where do we get more information?
So the race weekend is going to be somewhat different to what we've seen in other championships. Typically, we'll have the Friday practice, but on Saturday, we will be having practice, a qualifying session for a sprint race, and then on Sunday, exactly the same, but a longer race, so practice, a qualifying session, and a feature race. The feature race will have 3 compulsory pit stops, and the teams are allowed to have more than one driver. So as one of the team cars comes in, the other driver will go out in the second car, almost like a relay race. So you get to see more than one driver in a race, which is important. That allows us to open up the number of drivers teams can have. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more gender neutrality in the sport. So we'll see some of the super fast lady drivers getting behind the wheels for their countries.
Yes.
And so something very, very, very different. So stay tuned. Follow us on eliteworldcup.com. If you subscribe to our website, you'll receive all of our news, our press releases, and all of our social handles are exactly the same.
Daar het jy dit, Steven Watson, een van die mede-stigters van die hipermotor elite wêreldbeker. Dis wat dit sou wees. Baie dankie vir jou tyd. We really appreciate it. Bly ingeskakel. Dis tyd vir die nuus.